My name is Marcus Webb, and for 6 years, I've been flipping storage units in Phoenix, Arizona. It's a strange job, profiting off other people's abandoned lives most of the time. I find worthless furniture and boxes of junk that barely cover my auction bid. But every once in a while, I find something valuable, and that sliver of possibility is what keeps me going to auctions every Saturday morning in the brutal Arizona heat. On August 15th, I showed up to Desert Ridge Storage on East Bell Road. The temperature was already 98 degrees at 9 a.m. The facility sits right on the edge of the desert where Phoenix just sprawls into nothing. Those storage units bake in the sun like metal ovens. 12 units were up for auction that morning, and I passed on the first 9. I could see through the open doors they were filled with junk, nothing worth my time. But Unit 2847 was different. The auctioneer couldn't get the roll-up door open more than 6 inches before something heavy jammed it from inside. All any of us could see through that tiny gap was darkness and the corner of what looked like cardboard boxes, stacked all the way to the ceiling. The unit had been abandoned 11 months earlier, no payments made. The record showed it was rented by someone named Sarah Mitchell. I bid $300. Nobody else wanted to deal with whatever was blocking that door, so I won. 2 guys from the facility helped me force the door up another foot, and then we saw why it wouldn't open. 47 identical cardboard boxes, stacked in perfect rows from floor to ceiling. Blocking the entire entrance, every single box was sealed with heavy-duty tape, and each one was labeled with a number in black marker, 1 through 47, perfect. Handwriting, perfect order. And that's when I should have walked away. Phoenix in August is 112 degrees outside, inside that metal storage unit. It felt like at least 130. My shirt was soaked through with sweat after just 3 minutes. But it wasn't from the heat. Nobody abandons a storage unit with 47 perfectly numbered boxes by accident. This was deliberate. This was organized. Someone had either wanted these boxes found, or they had been stopped before they could come back for them. I pulled box 1 down from the stack and cut the tape. Inside, I found women's clothing, folded with department store precision. Shirts were sorted by color, pants by style. Everything was arranged like someone was packing for a move they never got to finish. Box 2 held shoes and accessories. Box 3 held books and a laptop. Then I opened box 4, and my hands stopped moving. Medical records from Banner University Medical Center. Patient name, Sarah Mitchell. Dates ranging from 2017 to 2019. Records for anxiety treatment. Prescriptions for depression medication. There were even half-full prescription bottles with her name printed on the pharmacy labels from her. Walgreens on Camelback Road. I set box 4 aside and looked at the 43 remaining boxes. I felt something cold move through my chest, a chill that had nothing to do with the blistering heat. Box 5 held financial documents. Bank statements showing regular deposits of $3,000 every 2 weeks from a place. Called Desert Sun Property Management, but it was box 6 that made me stop opening boxes. Completely. Inside were Phoenix Police Department evidence bags, not bags that looked like evidence bags, but actual sealed evidence bags with official case numbers and dates from October 2019. There were 3 of them through the clear plastic of the first bag. I could see dark brown stains on a piece of white fabric. In the second, I saw what looked like a torn piece of clothing. In the third bag held a driver's license. The photos of a blonde woman I didn't recognize. Her name wasn't Sarah Mitchell. I sat there on the hot, dusty concrete floor of storage unit 2847. But that evidence bag in my hands, and I understood. Whatever I had just bought for $300 was going to change my life in ways I could never take back. This wasn't just an abandoned storage unit anymore. It was a crime scene. What I didn't know yet, sitting there in the dark, was how deep this went. By the time I got to box 23, I realized I hadn't just found evidence from 1 crime. I had found evidence from 7 unsolved disappearances. And the person who hid it all there was a Phoenix police detective. This is the story of what I found, and what happened when I decided to open 1 box too many. Make sure you subscribe, because you are not going to want to miss what happens next. I needed to understand what I was dealing with before I called anyone. I moved on to box 7. It was full of photo albums. I opened one and saw pictures of a woman in her early 30s with blonde hair and blue eyes. Standing outside Camelback Mountain, there was the same woman from the driver's license in that. Evidence bag. Box 8 held laptops, external hard drives, and flash drives, all labeled with dates in the same careful handwriting. Then came Box 9. It was filled with printouts of news articles about missing persons cases in Phoenix between 2015. In 2019, I recognized 3 names from local news coverage. Jessica Chen, missing April 2018. Maria Gonzalez, missing June 2017. Amanda Price, missing September 2019. Finally, Box 10 held journals. I opened one to an entry dated September 12, 2019. It read, "I know he's been following me for 3 weeks now, and I've documented everything, but nobody at the department believes me because he is a detective and I am just a records clerk." The entry went on to describe a man in a dark blue sedan who parked outside her apartment on North Scottsdale Road every single morning. She had detailed times, detailed descriptions, even license plate numbers. I almost stopped reading right there. Honestly, the journal made Sarah sound paranoid, like she was seeing patterns that weren't there, thinking random coincidences were something more sinister. But then I flipped to the very last entry. It was dated October 17th, 2019, one day before Sarah Mitchell was reported missing. And all it said was, "His name is James Mitchell, and he's my brother." I just sat there in that storage unit, staring at those 6 words, a detective following a records clerk. A brother stalking his sister, 3 weeks of surveillance. And nobody at the police department believed her. I looked at the 37 other boxes stacked. Found me in the suffocating Phoenix heat, and a feeling close to dread settled deep in my chest. Because if she was right about being followed, then she was probably right about what happened to her. My hands were shaking as I pulled out my phone and searched Sarah Mitchell Phoenix missing person. What loaded on the screen made my stomach drop. Sarah Mitchell, age 32. Reported missing on October 18, 2019, by her employer. The Phoenix police had investigated but found no evidence of foul play. The case remained open but inactive. A voluntary missing person. The news article had her photo. And it matched the woman in the albums from Box 7. I was sitting in a 130-degree storage unit, holding evidence connected to an open missing persons investigation. And I still had 37 more boxes to go through. For a moment, I thought about closing everything up, putting it all back, walking away. Nobody knew I'd found this. Nobody knew what was inside these boxes. But then I thought about those 7 families, waiting for answers about their daughters, their sisters, their mothers who had just vanished from Phoenix. At 4:17 p.m., I called 911. I told the dispatcher I'd purchased a storage unit that contained evidence from multiple missing persons cases. To Phoenix police, detectives arrived 30 minutes later. One of them, Detective Lisa Romano, was about 40 with tired eyes and gray hair pulled back tight. She looked at Box 6, the one with the evidence bags, and her face went completely still. She put on a pair of gloves, opened the bag with the driver's license, and held it up to the fading sunlight. She looked at the case number printed on the bag and made a phone call. 10 minutes later, 3 more detectives arrived with a full crime scene unit. Detective Romano asked me how evidence bags from active investigations ended up in an abandoned storage unit. I told her I had no idea. She examined the case numbers on all 3 bags, and her expression changed to something that looked like a mix of anger and fear. She said these evidence bags were logged into the Phoenix PD evidence room in October 2019. They were checked out by a detective for review. She paused and then delivered the final blow. They were never checked back in. Someone took evidence from an active investigation and hid it here for 5 years. The Arizona sun was setting, painting the sky orange and purple over the storage facility. Crime scene lights lit up Unit 1847 like it was a stage. I could hear Detective Romano in the parking lot, her voice getting quieter as she rattled off case numbers and dates. The air smelled of dust, heat, and something else I couldn't place, something coming from the boxes they hadn't opened yet. All I could hear were the clicks of metal tools, the rustle of evidence bags, and footsteps on concrete. I was standing in the middle of the worst thing I'd ever found in 6 years of buying other people as abandoned lives. A crime scene team started processing boxes 11 through 20. Inside were hundreds of surveillance photos of different women around Phoenix, just going about their days. Leaving grocery stores, walking to their cars, sitting in coffee shops, all taken with a telephoto lens, all dated, all labeled with names. I saw Detective Romano stop on one photo, and her hand started to shake. A woman leaving a Whole Foods. The date stamp read March 15th. 2018. She showed it to another detective, who pulled something up on his phone. The woman was Rebecca Torres, missing since March 20th, 2018. The photo was taken 5 days before she disappeared. Box 21 held detailed notes on 15 different women, their daily routines when they left. For work, where they shopped, what cars they drove. Box 22 had maps of Phoenix, with locations marked in red ink and dates written next to them. I recognized 5 of those addresses from news reports about missing women. Detective Romano told me to step outside while they worked. Then they opened box 23. I heard her gasp. Oh my God, she stepped back from the box, hand over her mouth, and called for her supervisor. From 20 feet away, I couldn't see what was inside, but I watched 3 detectives look into that box and go completely silent. One of them walked right past me, and I heard him get sick behind a dumpster. That's when I knew this was bigger than just one missing person. Detective Romano came over and told me that box 23 held ID documents for 7 different women. Driver's licenses, credit cards, social security cards, house keys, all in separate bags with dates on them. The dates matched exactly when each woman was reported missing between 2015 and 2019. She called her supervisor, requested for more detectives, and told me to sit in her car and not move. I sat there for 6 hours as they processed all 47 boxes. What they found would reopen 7 cold cases. Box 30 held personal items from each woman, jewelry and clothing their families would later identify through tears. Box 35 had journals detailing how each woman was stalked for weeks before she vanished. Box 40 contained personnel files from the Phoenix Police Department, all belonging to a detective, James Mitchell. And Box 47 held a single handwritten letter. It said, "If you're reading this, then I'm either dead or I finally got away. My brother, James, is a Phoenix police detective. He's been killing women since 2015. I discovered what he was doing when I worked in records. I gathered everything I could and rented this unit under my own name because I knew if he killed me, someone would eventually find it. I'm sorry I couldn't go to the police. Here's the police." And nobody would believe a records clerk over a decorated detective. It was signed Amanda Sarah. Mitchell, not Sarah, Amanda. Detective Romano explained that James Mitchell had been a Phoenix detective for 12 years. His sister, Amanda, worked in the police records department and discovered he was using his access to remove evidence from his own crime scenes. She gathered everything in this unit as insurance. Then she disappeared in October 2019. James Mitchell reported her missing, using only her middle name, Sarah, to avoid suspicion. He'd been paying for the storage unit monthly, using her identity. Until 11 months ago, the payment stopped because James Mitchell died in a car accident in September 2023. They found Amanda S. remains 3 weeks later, buried in the desert. He'd killed his own sister when he realized what she knew. He kept paying for the unit because he couldn't risk anyone finding it. When he died, the payment stopped. And 11 months later, I bought Unit 2847 for $300. People ask if I regret buying that unit. I tell them no, because Amanda Mitchell spent her last terrified days making sure those 7 women wouldn't be forgotten. And I got to be the person who finished what she started. For $300, I bought 47 boxes that brought 7 families closure. That's not a flip. That's not a profit. That's something else entirely. 7 families got answers. 7 cases were closed. 7 women were finally brought home. As they loaded the last box into the evidence truck, I thought about how Amanda Mitchell spent her final months protecting strangers she'd never met. She knew her brother would kill her. She knew nobody would believe her. But she made sure that someday, someone would find the truth, even if it took 5 years, even if it meant dying to protect it. I've opened 100 storage units since that day. And every single time I cut the lock, I think about box 23, and I think about Amanda Mitchell, who turned her own death into evidence her brother couldn't destroy. If you believe stories like Amanda's deserve to be told, please like this video and subscribe for more. And let me know in the comments what you would have done if you had opened box 23. Thanks for watching.